Okay, guys, so we are going to probably wait a few minutes while everybody joins us. But I'm Kelly Burchell, and I am here with Jane Floyd of NFM Lending. And we are going to, can you guys kind of give us an idea? We have people joining in.
Yeah, we should be.
This is always that awkward moment, Jane, when you're waiting for people to join. We're like, come on, we're ready. We're ready. Well, we will get into it. And, okay, so big changes with NAR and the settlement and how really real estate's being done going forward, right? I think I would like to open up with the clearest explanation I've heard people use for the buyer agreements, right, is it's like, because, okay, I guess we should give a little bit of background.
Yeah, probably, just in
Okay,
case.
so, well, it was only been a few days. August 17th
Yep, Saturday.
is when it went into effect. And basically, commissions are not allowed to be advertised in MLS anymore. And every single buyer who is going to a house has to have a buyer brokerage agreement with an agent if they want to be represented, right? And so the best way that I've heard it explained, and I love this, is it's kind of like me, if you come to me, right, as a buyer's agent, Kelly, help me find a house. To me, it's like going to a doctor's office, right? I'm going to give you this buyer brokerage form. A doctor gives you a form telling you this is what my fee is, okay? The doctor is going to try to run it through insurance and get some of that covered, or most of it, right? But you're saying at the end of the day, what's not covered by the insurance company, you're responsible for. And that's exactly what I think that's a great explanation for what these buyer agreements are, right? Because it's saying, me, Kelly Burchell, this is my fee, this is what I work for. I'm going to try to get the seller to contribute some of the compensation, but if they don't, this is what you agree to and this is what you're going to owe at closing. Have you ever heard it like that?
Actually, Kelly, I have to tell you, I have been listening to podcast after podcast, speaking with, I've been doing this 33 years, so many agents, different companies. I have never heard it presented like that. And that is a really, really strong analogy.
And I think that that just shows everybody, right? Like, so we are all in this together. This is all brand new. And really we're all just trying to figure it out. Like, what is going on? Who's doing it properly? Who's saying the right things? And we're all very like, okay, here we go, right? Because it's mandated. We don't have a choice.
That's the key to tell
it is.
Buyers. You have no choice.
Right. And that's because, I don't even want to get into the whole lawsuit.
Right.
And again, we aren't here to share opinions of whether this is awesome or not. Like, it is what it is, and we just have to know how to move forward.
Adapt and change.
Right.
Yeah.
So, I really wanted to have you here because I think the buyer is probably, I don't know if you would agree, is the one who's going to be the most affected from this change.
Absolutely.
Okay. So, I don't know, get into it. What can we tell buyers? What are their options? So before, sorry, and I just want to set it up a little bit. I don't mean to be talking, but, before, as you know, the seller would sign a listing agreement saying, I'm paying X amount. I think it's important to say commissions have always been negotiable, right? But you sign a listing agreement saying this is how much I'm going to pay for you to sell my house. And in the past, that was split between the seller's agent and the buyer's agent. And now that's not, and that was put into the MLS, and that was like a guarantee. And that's what's not happening anymore. So, okay, where do buyers even start when it comes to the lending?
So great question. And Kelly, my team has been training on this for months and months and months, obviously. So perfect example, the buyer you referred me, I'll leave names out, last week, right? So after we do our normal, honor, question is, hey, did Kelly go over the buyer's broker agreement with you? And this person's answer was, yes. Great. So it starts with that, and then it's our job, once we do the consultation, to go through the options. The percentages that I hear are pretty strong of what, again, this will go back to you as the agent and what sellers will be willing to pay. So, but we want to go worst case, okay? If you agreed, you signed this, that Kelly Burchell's getting 2.5%, 3%, whatever that is. You've articulated your value. That person has agreed to work with you. Then it's our job to show them, okay, best case, you'll be able to get it from the seller. Awesome. Nothing's changed.
Insurance covers it.
Insurance covers it. Love it. Okay. We've already seen we've had a couple of examples of this already. For example, 2.5%, sellers covering 2%. Okay. So then it's our job to show them where is that other 5% coming from. And even if there is, I haven't seen this yet, but I'm sure we will see it where a seller, heels dug in, and I'm not paying. And I have heard it on some higher priced homes, Kelly, but it hasn't come across our desk yet.
I don't want to make you
go
lose
ahead,
your train of thought.
I'll
but
remember where I'm at.
I just went to a listing appointment Friday, and the guy was like, no, the buyer can pay their own agent.
So what's interesting about that, though, and we'll probably jump around here because we can get it all in. He says that, right? He says that, Kelly. However, you have an extremely reputable agent that brings you, because in my mind, I put myself in the position anytime, any change, what would I do, right? So obviously, I'm sure you said something like, okay, well, you may be eliminating a lot of highly successful agents that have buyers in this price point, right? So do you want the most for your house and do you want it sold the quickest? Then I recommend you obviously tried all that, but it's not happening. So it's all going to boil down to price, right? If you bring him, let's just say, I have no idea how you price this home. Let's just say it was full price. If you bring this person a full price offer and say, okay, Mr. Seller, can we negotiate this now? Because again, this is how it's been. It's priced in. I don't know that we'll even get into, if you think about appraisals, what is this doing to values, right?
Right.
It's always been priced in the house. So that'll be very interesting, right? If you do get an offer. But at the end of the day, let's just say he says absolutely not, right? So back to what we're doing and why honestly, Kelly, I'm probably more excited and optimistic about the future because, we've been through on the lending side so much compression over the past several years. I mean, technically, the lending industry is in a recession in 23, and it is what it is. You guys are going to go through a little bit of that now with compression, right? Not always, but sometimes. So back to what we're doing differently. We've always showed the borrower options because that's what, for us, it's about how to, our goal is how to use real estate to create generational wealth in your family. It's not just, this is one transaction, right? Yeah. I'm so passionate about real estate. I'm closing on a property in a week. I haven't even told anybody yet. It just happened.
There you go. You heard it here.
Yeah. I bought a property last year. That's how passionate I am about real estate and having it in my portfolio. But back to, we are showing those buyers up front, okay, you get that rare seller that's not going to pay a dime, and it doesn't matter what, we got to find it, right? Yeah. And of course, it's gonna depend on what type of loan. The agencies, right? Fannie, Freddie, Ginnie, have all said that the concessions are not included in the allowables, right? The interested party concessions that are allowed to be paid by a buyer, and we don't need to go into all, but literally they go from anywhere 2 to 9%.
So what you're saying is that essentially it cannot be financed. Is that what you're saying?
It cannot be just financed, but then there are ways around it.
Okay.
So correct. But no, what I'm saying is they can pay that in addition. So they're allowed. So let's just for example purposes, let's make something easy. Let's just say we have a $500,000 purchase, right? And the buyer's only putting down 5%, and the seller has agreed to pay. So 3% is the maximum maximum allowable concessions that can be paid by the seller. Okay, but they can also, in addition, pay your fee. So that is not included in the concession. That is a statement that Fannie and Freddie and put out. Even VA has now, originally when this, and it's changing all the time, VA is even allowing that now. Okay. So stay on that for 1 second, because I think this is to conceptualize. So I probably gave myself a hard one, but the math works.
Okay.
So let's just say that buyer, that seller's paying nothing. And the buyer needs, like, you've got that buyer's it's signed. So what I'm doing on the front end is saying, hey, Kelly, I know you want to put down 5%, but just in case Kelly finds you a house, I don't know why I'm using Kelly as the buyer and you,
Sally,
Mr. Buyer,
Sally is the buyer.
Find you a house that the seller absolutely will not pay your fee, okay? We're going to flip you. I'm going to show you what this looks like. You're going to put down 3% instead of 5%. So I just found you 2%, okay? Now in this scenario, we got to find the other half, right? Maybe, who knows? Maybe we split it. We pay part of it. But that's what we're showing buyers. Like, we're showing them, we have graphs, we have tools to show them, okay, you wanted to put down 5. Here's what cash to close and payment looks like. But you know what? If that happens, you put down 2. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it
3.
makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
And that's why, you know how I always am when I'm working. I'm like, please call Jane, right? Because you are able to do the numbers in reverse and look at all the options. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah.
Have you had a buyer with this situation yet? I mean, it's so new.
Yes, we have had a couple contracts that started prior, and I think too, like it's interesting. I see a lot of fear out there, but then I also see a lot of optimism.
Yeah.
With agents that really know and can articulate their value and work with, like, a lot of their clients, such as yours, are your returning clients, right? Or they're referred so strongly, right? We're not talking about the internet buyer that doesn't know you, right? That's a whole different thing. So yes, we've had 2. Both were similar. Buyer's broker's agreement was signed. They agreed to pay 2.5, and the seller was only paying 2. No problem.
Oh.
The 0.5% that we've already gone through the numbers. The 0.5% was put on the LE at closing. We're in communication with the title company, and no issues.
Yeah. See, I think we are gonna find that it's really just the fear of change that you know what I mean? Like, we're gonna be able to work through it. It's just, everybody is going to, because, you know, I know there's a lot of first-time home buyers that are like, I barely have time or have the savings for a down payment, you know, and now I need to pay this. I think they're scared. I think, I just, is there anything else that you want to tell buyers? I mean, I'm trying to think what they might, because I know we have some buyers watching live now, what they might have questions about. Oh, we could talk about the appraisals. Because I have had people say, just add it onto the price, right? From your perspective as a lender, what does that do to the transaction? Yeah, so that's a great question. And that's one of the scenarios that we go through. So, for example, last stats I checked, I can't remember exact quotes, but 76% of properties in 500 and under sold at 98% of list price. Now that may have changed a little since we've seen a shift in the past few weeks. Yeah. And then it's 97%, I think, over that. So let's just say, again, that seller, heels dug in. Okay, but you're bringing him, you're going to go, we believe that, because he's saying, I'm not paying.
you're going to go in and you're going to hey, we'll pay you $515 for that house, right? And that's where you come in with your comps, and it's this, right? It's the same semantics then. Yeah. So then it's you presenting it that, all right, you're still getting the same thing. They're paying more for your house. And of course, we have had, Kelly, 2 in the past 3 days, PIWs, which is property inspection waivers. So, which is really good. And what that means is just one this morning where we don't need an appraisal. So right now, we are not in the current market conditions with more properties coming on. We are not seeing appraisal issues. So that is definitely one strategy that we go over, and I think we won't have a problem with.
Yeah. Okay. That's good to know.
Yeah.
That's good to know. The P, what is it? PIW?
It's a property inspection waiver.
Okay.
And what that means is, and this is not for jumbo, but just for conforming, which the loan limit now is $766,250 in our area. So it just means that we run the property through the automated system and it likes it, right? So it's a data bank of so much data on properties, right? And so this property, no problem appraising, so we don't even need appraisal. So the cool part about that is, one, it saves the buyer. Saves the buyer $600-ish. Right. And so, and those are things too, this might be helpful if you are dealing with a seller that just refuses to pay all of it or some of it. We can do that before you make the offer. So, man, my buyer fell in love with this house. I've talked to the other agent. They just refuse. Yeah. So run this file for me, Jane, and tell me how high could I get one, right? It may say no.
How high can I get?
How high could I go with getting a property inspection waiver? Mm-hmm. So we've done that.
Oh, you can see that up front?
Yes.
Oh, before like someone even makes an offer, because it's based on the property.
We have to have it's based on the property, but it's collateral income assets, so it's also based on the borrower. So definitely property, because of this database. Right. It's called collateral underwrite. And then also the borrower, like, wow, yeah, this property, we have no problem with this, boom. So that way you're going in with an offer saying, okay, I know you didn't want to pay anything, but this buyer is not contingent on appraisal. They do not need an appraisal. They're going to pay you $515 for this house. We need 3% to pay this incredible buyer's agent that just brought this buyer in that can close in 2.5 weeks. Right.
Yeah. It is gonna be an ongoing adjustment discussion with the seller. You know, because like you said, I feel like a lot of them are going to upfront. We don't have to pay. Of course, we're not going to, right? But just the tactics, and I think that's why people in our side, the real estate business, is so what am I trying to say? Like nervous, because there's so much more work, I think, that on our end that we need to do. Just and not so much more work, explanation, right? And explaining the values and really walking a buyer through all different kind of scenarios, you know, versus just there's so many buyer's agents that, you know, are able to literally, they take them to one house off of Zillow and then that's what they're used to, right?
And so it's interesting you say that. And so really, should you
make as much, right?
You know, $30,000 for opening one door. I mean, I'm not saying you should or shouldn't,
right.
But
when you start to think of it,
when there are buyers that think like that, right? However, you know, and especially take some markets, man, knowing that market and presenting to the seller, like, reputation is everything, right? And credibility, right? So we want all the offers that we can get, right? Mm-hmm. I do see people, I think open houses are going to be, I mean, maybe you want to touch on that. But Kelly, let me ask you this. So what are you saying to your sellers or are you, I don't want to put words in your mouth, to encourage them to
to
pay
Yeah.
a buyer's agent.
We're like,
Yeah, whatever you wanna call
Okay,
it,
so
yeah.
I have, again, super new. I've only had one listing appointment
Okay.
with it, and that did not go well.
Mm-hmm.
But what I did, and we can only do what we can do, right?
Right.
And obviously, I am going to go in trying to get as much as I can for the buyer's agent, because I feel like that's going to be a smooth transaction, right? What I did was I did my CMA, I pulled my comps, and then I called every single agent that had a listing and said, hey, are you guys offering buyer's rep compensation? So that way I was able to say, hey, okay, so seller, this is not only, these are the comps, but also they're offering this to a buyer's rep, because that's one more level of competitiveness, right? Like, say you're all priced, and this was like say $750,
Okay.
right? And they were all right around that price range. And of course, he wanted to be a little bit higher, and he wanted to be a little bit higher and
not pay.
So I did not take that listing.
Good for you,
I
Kelly.
mean, because you
Good for
can't.
you.
The same thing. It's the same thing as taking a overpriced listing. Like, that doesn't
Right.
look good for us. That's not good for anyone.
Yeah.
You have to set the right expectations. I think what's just doing things like this and educating people as we go, and not only, we don't even know it all right now, right? Like, we're learning as we
Changing,
go.
yeah.
So I think just educating people and just keeping them informed on their options is what's going to make the difference. Like you said, so this guy, he did not agree. He did not agree.
Can I ask you
Yeah.
this? And when I mentioned about, sorry, this is driving me. I never wear
it's
bracelets,
okay.
ever. Why I put one on today, I don't know, because I got it for a gift. So, so that's a really good example, Kelly, when I'm thinking about the appraisals. So you did what any great agent would do. You looked at comps, and so what he's not understanding is those comps that sold, and then obviously you went and probably called actively. Exactly. But those comps that sold, because again, this is real and raw and just effective on Saturday. I mean, everybody's been practicing it and getting ready for it. But so those comps at that price point included a whatever, call it 5.5%, 6%, right? At that point, commission, right? So for him to think, right, that's where, like, so good for you for walking away. Like, what you're asking for is, let's call it, if it's whatever, 3%. Man, you think your house is going to sell for 3% over what all these? Yeah, it's explaining that, and I think too, just having, like we have on the front end, clear, like, data, show the data, have your presentation, you've always had listing, right?
Yeah.
Presentations, but most agents that I find have not had buyers. No. Like questionnaire, consultation, right? And that's where I think we really right now come in as partners for you, and we're able to show that, because if I'm just say I'm not really savvy on the market, if you show me that math, any logical person's gonna go, I understand. Yes.
Right.
It's like, it's not different than what's been happening historically.
Right. So that's interesting. That that's a good point, and I've heard that on a podcast somewhere, where the lenders and the buyer's agent do together a buyer's presentation, and that actually makes sense, and why we haven't thought about that a long time before. But that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, that I think it's going to be, and I don't like to say more work, because that sounds,
it is, no, but
you know what I mean.
It is, Kelly. I mean, at the end of the day, like, we are working harder for,
Which is
it
fine.
It's totally fine.
It's
Everybody knows me, and
Right.
we're grinders, right?
100%.
I love getting on with an agent. Like, wow. I mean, you talk about collaborating, edifying, honoring each other, and they know that I know what I'm talking about from the lending side, and you know what you're talking about, and here's the raw data, right? So that presentation is, I think, going to be game changer, the buyers.
Yeah. You know, it's funny because I've been hearing talk about it, and of course I'm like every other agent, like I'm trying to stay on top of it, but halfway I'm like burying my head in the sand, like this is not happening, and it's all because it's change. I don't like change, whatever, right? But what I was going to say is I hear people talking about this buyer presentation, and I forgot where I was going with this, Jane. I think I just never really thought about doing it as a team, and I think that's going to be a game changer.
Yeah, and we're already positioned we almost insist with every client to do a Zoom once we get their information, right? To be able to show the data again, right? Show the data, why they should work with us. So we're already positioned, and my team, we have Zoom set up. We give multiple, I'll tell you, most buyers, and I'm talking in all price points, not just your first time home buyers. I mean, man, even the savvy buyers, like, they do something else for a living, right? Let us show you the options, right?
Yeah, I was thinking that. The especially the higher end where they have 100 things going on. They're just like, just do what you do, right?
100%. Yeah. It's probably what you do. It's what I do when I go to a professional, right? Like, I'm going to decide who's the best, and I'm going with them because of their expertise. And you said something. It's funny. Changing your mindset and shifting with this market. You said, I don't like change. And I have some people on my team that don't like change. And if you think about it, I don't know why. I love change because with change comes growth, right? And I'm not saying I feel like every like this, I mean, what we've been through in lending, Dodd-Frank way back, I mean, the world was ending. I mean, nobody was going to be getting we were going to be out.
Right.
So I think you have to look at that. This is a huge opportunity, I think, for both of our industries to be more professional, and we change the reputation, right?
I agree with that 100%, because not everybody is going to hang tight and make the changes, right? Let's stress too that it is, I don't think I even said this, but it is a mandate. So because the buyer that you and I talked about,
which I'm scheduling a Zoom, so
perfect.
You be on.
Okay, perfect. Oh yeah, we should do that together.
Yes, we'll do our first one.
That's funny. He is a son of a longtime client of mine, right? And I have sold probably 5 houses for them, and they called me and they were literally up in arms. They wouldn't even show him a house without and that's what I think I want everybody. If you take nothing away from this podcast, just please know that this is not an agent trying to be difficult. We can be fined. Like, if we open a door, if we do a FaceTime tour, a virtual tour, we have to have a buyer's agreement signed. So be patient with us. It's not our choice.
And Kelly, I don't know if you know, but I know some agents that have already been fined.
I have heard about it.
And just maybe so the buyers understand, it's $500 for the first offense. Is it?
I want to say $2,500 the second.
And
did I say up to 15?
15 the third.
$15,000.
$15,000 that you would have to pay if you violated this mandate. Yeah.
But you know what? Okay, so let's get into that too. And we only have like 3 minutes left. But okay, I have 2 things I want to talk about. I want to talk about, remind me because I'll forget, about the pre-approval and the buyer's agreement, and if you have any opinion on which one comes first. Okay. And then, I already forgot about the second thing I was going to talk about. So let's just go with that.
Okay. Maybe it'll come to you. So your question is the pre-approval.
Because, normally somebody would call.
Yes.
Well, most of the time, I feel like people call the agent first, and the first thing we do is say, call Jane, call your lender, right? So at what point do we, obviously, looking out for myself, I would say sign it right away, right? But I don't want to, obviously, the consumer is the priority, right? And you don't want to lock them into something if they can't do it. So
I'm going to answer, this is my personal opinion, and I think we'll see it go both ways.
Okay.
I think Obviously, if it's a past client you have a relationship with, they're probably going to have no problem signing like yours. He signed it. So I believe that the pre-approval is going to help in many ways, because here's a live example from Thursday or Friday. Referral wasn't referred. This buyer found this agent,
Okay.
and it is a very high-end buyer,
Okay.
right? And found this agent, got 3 names, and talked to all 3 of them. Told, because we always ask, how did you meet Kelly? Tell me about whatever. As yours was, hey, my whole family. All right, well, then I don't need to go on and tell you how great Kelly is. But this person, I had more of a conversation up front, and this is a great agent, and they chose this person because they talked to her over the phone, they talked to the other ones, they looked at her social media, they looked at all of that. So she did not have a buyer's agent's agreement signed, but we were able to go through, and the consult is the consult is set for this week, the Zoom. But I was able to go through all of that with her. And now I promise you that she may have been hesitant, maybe, to sign the buyer's broker's agreement. But now
she will.
Then I told her, and I meant it from the heart. That's
Right.
why I'm being, to be honest with you, at this stage, you know how hard my team works. Like, we only want to work with agents that, hey, you cannot force people to go through us. They have all the choices, but man, we work hard.
Right.
We have 99.5% raving fan surveys, right? And we have to partner on this. Right. So I think you're going to see both, but I would say the norm would be pre-approval first.
Okay. But I like that, because then, like you said, it seems like it will take a little bit of the fear out of
100%, because we are educated. We're
Right.
explaining it. It's mandated. Man, when you have your meeting with Kelly, she's going to go over this. It's mandated, and they're going to be prepped for it.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's a great place to end. Do you have anything else that I know?
Went by that fast?
Because we can talk about it forever.
I know.
Because it's all so different.
It's so different.
So many people have so many questions.
Yeah.
But I think the most important thing is like, just be patient, and we are all gonna like work through it.
Embrace the
together.
change. Educate yourself and educate your buyers. Yeah, and we're here to help you do that.
Yeah. Okay, guys, thanks for joining us. If you
Thank
have
you.
any lending questions, be sure to call Jane Floyd with NFM Lending. I will link her here. And if you have any questions, you can send us emails or messages, whatever. We're happy to help. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Kelly.
Okay.